Hey, this is Jared, and today I'm here at the Texas Music Educators Association Conference in San Antonio, and I'm just going to be talking about what I've learned so far. Let's get to it. All right, this one's a winner. We're geared up, ready to go. So I just finished day one, and what we're going to be talking about today is just some of my reflections about some of the different clinics that I've gone to so far since I've been here at TMEA 2019, and it's been a lot of fun. I've seen a lot of friends from college, and I've got to connect with some other music educators, so that's one of the primary reasons why you go to something like this, a conference like this. But also, it's good because they have different sessions that you can go to learn a little bit more about different aspects of music education and music in general. And so I've got some opinions about some of the things that have been happening there. One of the I'm just going to cherry pick some of my favorite ideas that I've come across since I've been here, and some of the things that I've kind of have stretched my mind a little bit, and maybe something that I share will be helpful to you as well. So one of the lessons that I went to was about programming and how to set up the program for let's say a music concert or something like that. And so how do you order the music? How do you put things in a way that it's pleasing to the audience and in a way that they will receive in the best way, essentially. And so that was one of the things that I went to, and I absorbed some information from that. And one of the takeaways from that is the clinician tried to answer the question, what is the goal of music, or what is the ultimate purpose, the achievement that you're trying to accomplish? What is the reason that we do this thing called music? And he broke it down into 4 aspects, and the first of which, why music, or what's the purpose of music, or what is the goal of music making. The first, he said, was to cause people to feel something, to have an emotional response to whatever is being presented. And I thought that was good, and is something that we talk a lot about in choir, at least in my choirs. We talk about emoting the text, about the purpose of presenting music, especially in a worship service, is to allow people to get into some kind of condition, so that especially when we do choir anthems, the position of the anthem is as preparation for the word, so it comes right before the sermon, and the purpose of that is to get them in the mindset to receive the word, the sermon. And so I think he hit the nail right on the head, to cause people to feel. Because if you're not allowing people to express emotions or feel something through the performers, then what are you doing? So that was the first thing, cause people to feel. The second was to allow people to enter a world, another world that they could use as an escape. You see this a lot in the young population of especially the U.S., but I'm sure elsewhere as well, in other developed nations and countries, where things like virtual reality are on the rise, because people are not interested is the wrong word, but it's very close. It's more about a need. They have a need to escape this world, this life that they have, and they have a need and a desire to be something better, to be something more than they are, or that they can be themselves. And I think music serves that same purpose as video games and virtual reality. I think music, if you are a participant in a concert, let's say, you can have, even if it's a secular concert, you can have a spiritual experience. It's one of those vehicles that maybe you have a favorite song, and maybe you used to just sit in your car and you'd put the player on and let it go, and then you just recline back in your seat, and you would be transported to another world, another time, another place. And music has that ability, and I think it is something that we need that we need to be aware of, and as a goal for music, to allow other people to use it as a vehicle to another world or to another place. So where they can escape their normal life. That's number 2. Number 3 is as a vehicle for the artists to serve their fellow human beings. to respond to society, for artists to use the art as a mode of service. We say this all the time in the church, but we say for people who are involved in the worship of the church and the worship ministries of the church, we say, thank you for sacrificing your time. Thank you for sacrificing your talent. We say those two things, right? Thank you for your time. Thank you for serving with your talent. We talk a lot about service in the monetary sense, about sacrificing and about giving, and especially in corporate worship. But on the music side of things, we constantly, or at least I do, the leadership constantly should be thanking people for the service of their talents and abilities, for sharing, for giving back what they have in the form of talents and abilities, as opposed to, like, let's say, money. And so I think this also is important, this vehicle for an artist to serve their fellow human. If you're an artist, part of your art is to I don't know, maybe portray the world as it is, to show somebody the world as you see it, to respond to society. That's that element. But also by responding to society, that you illuminate it a little bit, and maybe somebody can feel better. It's back to that number one, but another layer of that. You are servicing someone else. It's not for your own benefit, but it's for someone else's benefit. That's number three, to serve your fellow humans as a musician. And number four is to elevate the human condition. I think this goes back to that number two a little bit, where I talked about just letting something play and then just being transported, right? That's part of this, that you're elevating music. You're using music as this vehicle, but it's not just a vehicle to go someplace else, but it's a vehicle to be better, to improve the human condition, to illuminate the human condition a little bit better, so people can come to some kind of epiphany, that they can learn something about themselves, perhaps. And I think that's really what this number four, elevate the human condition, is all about. So the four again are: one, to cause people to feel; two, to allow people to enter a world where they can escape; three, as a vehicle for an artist to serve their fellow humans and to respond to society; and number four, to elevate the human condition. And so if we don't have those four goals in mind when we're talking about programming, that's what this session that I went to, but I think it applies to everything that we do, or everything that musicians do. Maybe you're not part of a music ensemble, but you just are a music enthusiast, let's say, and you appreciate the music of the church, or the music at your school, or the music in your community. And so if the musicians in your life, or maybe you're in a music ensemble, if you don't have these four elements in your mind while you're performing, I think we might be missing the mark. I think it's always important for us to have goals. So maybe focus on one, maybe focus on all, but I think they're all equally important. I think this guy got it right in these four elements of goals for music. And so that's one of my takeaways. I'd like to talk about one other thing, which is I went to a session on the acoustics, the science of sound, and how important it is to get the acoustics right. That just by pairing certain voices together, it was a choir clinic, and so by pairing certain voices together, you can get a louder sound, you can get a better sound, a more natural sound out of your singers, especially when talking about things like solo singing, kind of style, I guess, in a choir. Not to say you can't blend and things like that, but to get the best, freest sound out of each individual singer and vocalist. It was an interesting one to go to. And one of the takeaways for me is how wrong we sometimes get it when we're talking about choirs and bands and orchestras, that by cramming people together because of our space constraints, that we're really doing folks a disservice. She had people stand shoulder to shoulder like we do in let's say the high schools and in the middle schools, because we're on risers and we don't have much space, so we stand shoulder to shoulder. And she had groups of people on the stage stand shoulder to shoulder and sing, "My country 'tis of thee." It was just this one line, right? And I'm sure if you're a musician, maybe you've done this before, or your director's done this before. But she had them do that one line as a consolidated, grouped a unit, and then she had them spread out 1 foot apart, and it sounded immediately stronger, louder, better. And then she had them stand 24 inches apart, which really spread these 10 to 12 singers out across the stage and even beyond the confines of the risers. And by doing that, they sounded a size, I mean, much bigger, as a much bigger ensemble. So I think I might actually attempt some of these strategies when I go back. Maybe try and get folks to spread out a little bit and maybe do some circle work. I think there are some applications there as well. That maybe just by, I think I might be doing my singers a disservice by making them stand so close together. We don't have that much space, but I think there are some creative ways to get some elbow room in there to allow them to sing to the best of their ability. I think by the science of it, or the acoustics of it, the science of the acoustics rather, is that she was saying that by putting people right next to each other, that people have this thing called left ear, right ear dominance, and so you can do this yourself. You know, on the other side of the camera here, you can do this yourself by closing off one of your ears. Let's close off. This is my right, your left, and just singing, "My country 'tis of thee." And then you listen. Okay, yeah, and that's right. So then you close the other ear. This is my left, your right, and then singing the same thing, "My country 'tis of thee." And I can hear a difference. And maybe you can too if you give it a shot. You do it a couple times and close off one ear and then you open the other one. And what this means is we have natural tendencies toward our hearing, and well, the right and the left ears hear differently apparently, and we have one dominant ear. And so by putting a singer that close to one ear or the other, it affects the way that we sound. It can create tension in the voice, and so just by giving us a little bit of space, and then by rearranging the voice types, we can save a lot of time and can alleviate a lot of what's called intonation, flat and sharp problems, right? And so it was just really interesting, and I think I've got some strategies to try when I go back to choir on Sunday morning. We've got an anthem, but especially Wednesday evening when we have our rehearsal, I think I'm going to try some things. And so it's been fun. Day 1 was a lot of fun, and day 2 is going to be just as fun. And I'll have some more insights for you tomorrow, hopefully. I'm sorry I've been sick, but hopefully I'm back on track here at TMEA 2019. Anyway, I hope that you all have a wonderful day, and of course, as always, go in peace.